Okay, I'm going to do a video on how to create a memorial based off dimensions and sizes rather than actually taking a photograph of the memorial. So the memorial shape I'm going to create is a barrel-sided OG. The sides of the barrels are going to step in an inch, and the OG top is going to drop by 2 inches. And instead of being a 2 foot by 2'6" headpiece or 2'6" plate, it's going to be 2 foot wide, and the plate's going to be 3 foot high. But it's still going to sit on a 2'6" base. So the first port of call, as it were, is going to be to put the base in place so that I can then build a memorial on that. And the easiest way to do that is just to bring in an existing 2'6" base and delete the headpiece off it. So I'm just going to place the standard 2'6" OG on the stone on the screen. And then delete the headpiece. So select the headpiece by pressing Control and click, and then just press delete. So this is the base that I'm going to build the memorial on. So I'm going to put a rectangle in and then change the size of this rectangle to be 36 inches high and 24 inches wide. And then by pressing the center to stone button, it will move that so that the stone is now centered on the base. And I might want to just move that up fractionally. I'm just going to use the cursors to move that up by the nudge distance. Okay, so this box here defines the boundary in which this memorial shape is going to sit, but we need extra guidelines to show the positions of the corners of the memorial and the positions of the barrel sides, etc. So I'm going to draw some more rectangles on here, and the first rectangle I'm going to draw is at the top, and I'm just going to slide that out to, let go too early, slide that out to the edge. I'm going to make that drop 2 inches. So that box there is 2 inches from top to bottom, and that allows me to say that that's the distance between the edge of the corner of the memorial shape and the top. I'm now going to draw a couple more boxes. The first is going to be one on this side. You'll notice I've got snap to objects turned on, so as I'm moving around you can see it snapping to objects. I'm going to make that one 1 inch wide because that's how much my barrel side comes in. And again, I'm just going to move that back over to the edge. I'm pressing Shift so that it stays in a horizontal line. Oops, typical. So now that it's not online, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this corner. I'll pick up this corner here and just move that corner over that node there, and I know that's going to be right. And I'm now, I could just draw another rectangle over here, but instead what I'm just going to do is click the mirror button, and that's now created me a band on this side, a band on that side, and my band on the top. So these points here and here will be the two corners of my OG when I actually create the shape. So the final step is to put a rectangle in the middle, and this is the rectangle that I'm actually going to use to create the memorial. So I'm just going to drag the rectangle around this central section here. If I choose the pick tool now and start to move these corners, you'll notice that rather than moving the corners, it rounds off the rectangle, and that's because it knows that this is a rectangle, and when you edit the points on a rectangle, it doesn't actually move them. So instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Object, and I'm going to go Convert to Curves. And you'll see that those have gone from black dots to normal points, etc. And these lines are now just straight lines, and I can move an individual point out. But what I can't do is I can't move and create a curve. These are still all lines. So if I just go undo and undo. So what I want to do is I want to select all of the lines and then right click and say make those curves. So these lines are now curves. So when I pick the line up, you'll see it now creates a curve rather than dragging all the boxes. Because I've got my guidelines, I can slide this up and down, and I'm snapping to points, and I'm looking for the midpoint on this line here. So I have moved this curve out to the midpoint here, and if I do the same on this side, I will create a mirror image of my barrel sides. So that means that this corner here is 1 inch in from the outer point there. These top line here, I'm going to do the same thing again, so I'm going to drag the middle up to the midpoint. But in this instance, I don't want an oval top, I want an OG shape. And in order to create an OG shape, I need to add an extra point in. So I'm going to add a point in there. And I can now move these angle lines to create myself my OG shape. But I want to make sure that this OG is symmetrical. So the way that I do that is I want to put these lines here at a known position. And so what I do is I actually take my rectangle, which was my drop, slide that in. By pressing the shift key, it will mirror both sides exactly the same. Slide that in, and now when I go back to the pick tool and select my line here, I can move that and put it on that node. And if I move this arrow and put it on that node, then I know that this OG shape here is completely symmetrical. Final steps then are, let's remove all of our rectangles. So I'm just selecting them and then clicking the delete button. And I now want to make sure that this memorial will actually fill with granite. So I'm going to click the memorial and I'm going to go fill with a polished surface. And the final thing I always do is, you can see this black line around the memorial. I always take that off, and I do that by right-clicking the take away the fill button down here. So if I right-click that, you'll see the line has now disappeared. And that memorial is exactly 2 foot wide. It is 3 foot high, and it has a 2 foot drop on the OG here, and it has a 1 inch difference between the outer point on the barrel sides and the corners. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. So that's how I go about drawing memorial shapes from dimensions rather than pictures. Thanks.